If your goal is to get rich in your teens or in your 20s, do not start freelance brand scaling, okay? In this video, I'm gonna explain why that is, as someone myself who's done that exact same model for multiple years. And I know before you go crazy and comment something like upset in this video, I know that all of these guys online are telling you that you should start freelance brand scaling. You're watching people like Bress and all these other guys that are living these like crazy lifestyles, buying nice cars and living in penthouses and all that stuff. But there are a couple of very simple and straightforward reasons I'm gonna explain to you in this video for why, for most people, most beginners looking to start making money online, making your first 10, 20, 30K per month online, freelance brand scaling, or SMA, which is ultimately what it is, like having a marketing agency for e-commerce brands, is not the right path for most of you guys to take. And I'm going to explain today in this video like why that is, and also what I've been doing instead. That's been a way more effective path to be able to actually get my first 10K, 20K, and beyond per month in actual profit. That's way more realistic for beginners, okay? Because here's the thing, ultimately what freelance brand scaling is, it's just like this new name for having like an e-commerce agency. You're having an agency where you go to e-com brands and just run their ads for them and take a payment to do so. It's like either like a revenue share or it's like a retainer to do so, okay? That model has been around for a long time, like the agency model. I used to run my own agency for a long time, over 2 years. And the thing that happens when you get into like the agency model as a beginner, the thing that most people don't understand, and the thing that really, when I understood this, it took me from being broke, living with my parents, to making my first 10K per month, my first 20K per month, building a life of freedom for myself. And that's allowed me to now like travel the world, be able to make multiple 6 figures every single year from my laptop. Is like taking some sales calls, etc. And that was understanding that getting into agency without any actual skills, like when you're a complete beginner just coming out of school or a 9 to 5, an agency requires you to be good at multiple different skills, okay? You need to know how to actually find proper clients. Like how do you find good clients? How do you do outreach? How do you land appointments with potential clients? How do you get on a sales call and actually close those clients? Objection handling, how to run a proper sales call, etc. Then you need to know how to actually, like when you get a client, like how do we actually set up campaigns that actually perform? How do we do copywriting? How do you find winning creatives? How do you actually deal with communication with your clients? How do you scale the business? How do you lead a team? Like, I think you get the point. Like, there's multiple different skills that you need to learn. And this is the exact reason why most beginners struggle to actually get to their first $10,000 per month with their own agency. And also why I struggled for a long time to make that happen for myself. I was running my own agency super overwhelmed, trying to figure out like what things I should be focusing on. You know, I was trying to like booking more calls on my calendar and like setting more appointments and getting better at closing my client, or putting time towards getting better results and running better campaigns and learning about copywriting. Like there's so many different things that you can put your attention towards when you're trying to grow your agency that it becomes very hard, you know? And that's the thing, like you see a lot of guys like see with agency, but what you usually don't see is that a lot of those people, they have previous experience. Either they have capital to put into the business, or they've done stuff before. Maybe they've been in like a sales job before that's helped them a lot to know how to sell, know how to book appointments, and they can use those skills in the business and just add a couple of more skills to that, you know? Most people don't see that. Most people think that you can just get into agency and you just do the right things, you just take the right actions, you will succeed. And obviously I'm not saying that you can't, you know, a lot of people get into an agency without experience and you can definitely make it work, but there's a way simpler, more guaranteed path where instead of having to get into like, think about like a video game almost. That's how I think about it. When you get into freelance brand scaling and agency, you have to learn and like max out like 5 different stats at the same time. You have to get really good at booking appointments, at closing those appointments, at writing copy for your clients, building out good converting like landing pages, making sure they're actually getting sales. Like there's multiple different skills that you need to learn to become a successful business owner in that model, you know? And that's going to be hard, you know, obviously getting good at 5 different things at the same time. No wonder you're overwhelmed, you know, no wonder you're struggling and you're buying courses and it's not working out for you, you know, pretty obvious. This is basically what I realized eventually after doing this model for about 2 years, struggling to make more than like a couple of grand per month. Obviously, like I said, you can stick to it and figure it out, but there are way better models, because usually what happens for a lot of beginners, they get into the agency space, they try to like make that work, they don't really make a lot of money. And because of that, they're putting in all this work. You know, I used to work like literally 12, 14-hour days with my agency. Like, it's grinding day in, day out, waking up early in the morning, doing my morning routine, grinding all day long, doing cold calls, cold emails, cold DMs, like everything to just like get clients through the door and signing them up. And I was just like putting in like a heavy amount of work, but because I was not seeing like a big payoff from those results I was putting in, it was hard to just keep going for long enough to actually learn all these different skills and succeed with the business. And when I changed into, instead of running my own agency, basically what happened eventually is I hopped on a call with one of these guys that was basically teaching how to grow my agency. So one of these guys, kind of like Bress and these other guys, have these courses and like mentorship programs, you know, where they teach you, here is how you scale your agency to X, Y, and Z number. I hopped on one of those calls with a guy to like originally just like plan on scaling my agency. And I realized like the guy I was talking with was not like the owner, it wasn't like the mentor, it wasn't the boss or like that guy. It was basically just his sales rep, someone that taking sales calls and closing deals on behalf of that like influencer that I was following at the time. And that call, I was just jabbing with the guy, just like asking him some questions about what he's doing and things like that. And eventually I found out that guy, he was a sales rep for that influencer. And he was making over $10,000 a month just taking the sales calls for the business owner, like only doing the sales part of like the agency basically. That's when really like I think it's kind of clicked for me, and I realized like there's another path. The only way to make 10K a month online, a lot of these gurus put it, is not to start your own business. You don't have to like start your own agency and learn like 50 different skills as a beginner. I realized like if I just want to make 10K a month, I want to be able to travel, work a couple hours per day, just take sales calls, I could just get into a role like that. I could just become a sales rep for one of these mentors or like coaches or agencies and just work for them, get paid good money, like 6 figures per year, without all of the stress of like having to build my own business and while just focusing on one skill. That's really what changed at that point, and I realized that that's a way better path for me to take to just like get into sales, and that's gonna be the case for a lot of beginners as well. If you're someone right now trying to build an agency or you're looking at starting your own business, realize that is gonna be a complex path to take, and if you can instead just focus on one single skill, go and work for already successful business as a sales rep for them, make money while doing so, that's gonna set you up with experience, with the skills and the capital to eventually start your own business down the road. We can have that like ultimate freedom and make like 100K per year or 100K per month, because ultimately like as a sales rep for one of these influencers, you're not going to make more than realistically like 40, 50K per month, like maximum if you're working really hard with them, So you can make good money, but you're not going to make that like super big amount of money, which is why I think it's a great starting point, because going from 0 to 10 to 20K per month, high ticket sales and being a sales rep for an influencer is by far the best, the most guaranteed and the fastest path to take. You learn the skill, get capital, it's very quick to just tap into. You just need to learn the skill, get good at sales, you can find someone who can teach you that, and then you just get into a business to work for where everything is already like rolling, And the biggest thing that allows you to do is, number one, you get a lot of reps, so you get used to just like talking to people over the phone. I see a lot of beginners getting into the agency game, and they have actually zero idea of like how to actually sell, They get on sales calls with these big brands and these big business owners, and they lose the deal because you don't know how to show up properly and how to actually sell people, So you get to actually learn that skill, get a bunch of reps in on someone else's behalf, Just like taking a bunch of calls, getting used to it, getting confident, knowing how to close people is going to help you massively when you run your own agency. And also, like I said, the capital, the experience, and the biggest thing is you'll be able to see the inside of a good business, If you can work for someone like Brest or someone else that has a big successful agency, you can go work for someone like that and you'll be able to just see how they operate in the business, see how a good business runs, get mentored by successful people in the business. That's the stuff that no one really talks about when it comes to getting into high ticket sales and being in remote sales, which is ultimately what this is. Where you get mentored by a good business, you see the inside, you learn from their mistake instead of having to make the mistakes on your own, and get paid while doing so. That's why I love this industry, And I know some of you are going to say that like, Alex, I understand your point here, but I don't want to work for someone else. I want to be a business owner, I want to be an entrepreneur, and I never want to like have a boss above me, And I was the same way, when I got into, like when I was running my own agency, my mindset was like, I'm never going to work for anyone else, like a 9 to 5 or even like a remote job, I'm never going to work for anyone else again. I'm going to be my own boss, I'm going to figure this out, But what I realized eventually is like that mindset held me back a lot, because I was trying to like grow my own agency because I was like super stubborn and like, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to buy all these different courses and go for all the pain trial error myself. I didn't realize like that path was just like unnecessarily hard, If I would have just sooner like stopped the agency and just gone into a sales role, I would have learned how to sell, I would have gotten the capital, I've gotten the freedom to leave my parents' house, start traveling way sooner, And I would therefore be able to start my own business way sooner as well, Because I understand that getting into a sales role, or getting into high ticket sales, remote sales, and working for an influencer, it's not about taking a step back and going into like working for someone else, It's about you getting into a position where you can actually get the experience, the skills, getting the mentorship, and also getting the capital that you need to start your own business sooner and with a head start when you do it. So what would you rather do? Would you rather go out there and like try to start your own business for like 2 to 3 years, make pretty much no money at all, and like struggle and eventually figure it out, or go into a sales job for maybe 6 to 12 months, or even like a 1.5 year or like 2 years, get to work, start getting paid like the first week that you're in the role, actually make your first 10K per month, start traveling, have a nice lifestyle, be able to actually enjoy life, learn from the mistakes inside of a good business, get experience, and then start your own business 2 to 3 years down the road and see faster success when you do it. It's pretty obvious, Because at the end of the day, like all business, every single company you can potentially build and get into is going to benefit from you being good at sales. You know, when you know how to sell, business becomes pretty easy, to be honest. You know, like the fact that I've been in this space now for over 3 years, closed over $3 million personally in high ticket sales, and also led big sales teams, has allowed me to get to a point now where like I can run a lot of different business models. You know, I'm able to start an agency if I want to, or start something else, you know, because I've been able to, like, I have the skills that I know how to close consumers, business owners, like I know how to talk to these people, I know how to close deals. I have that confidence, which means I can lead teams. I know how like influence, persuasion, leadership works. I know how appointment setting works because I've been doing appointment setting. I know how to manage people. I've learned all these different skills by just being in high ticket sales, and it's like taking a bunch of sales calls, you know? So if you feel like you lack that confidence, you lack that conviction in yourself, and you lack that like ability to just like lead people and close people and actually get clients for your agency right now, or like even start your own agency, get into a sales role. I promise you it's going to benefit you a lot. Like there's really no, like what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you get into a sales role, you start making money, you start getting paid, you get experience, and then if it's not for you, then you just get back into the agency game with more experience, with more capital to use, and with more knowledge about the business world. That's why I'm saying, like, for everyone that's seeing these guys online right now, you're seeing these people. The funny thing is that guys like Bress and these other guys, they're making a shit ton of money by telling you to start freelance brand scaling business or like SMA, you know. And that's the funny thing is like they sell mentorships and they have sales reps or working for them selling those mentorships, you know. And a lot of times these guys are making more money by selling courses and mentorships and coaching programs about how to do the business model than they're actually making from the business model themselves. Which is why you want to become a sales rep for these guys, because then you can be part of selling their coaching program or their mentorship and actually get a piece of the pie of all the money that they're making, which usually like 100 grand, 200 grand, even 500K per month they're making. You can get a percentage of that by just taking sales calls for them and enrolling those people into the program. So what does that look like? Like, what do you actually do when you're doing high ticket sales and being a sales rep for these guys? It's pretty simple, you know? What it looks like is you wake up in the morning, you get booked calls on your calendar. So think about it like this, you know, you know, guys like Bress, Iman Gadzi, like all these other guys online, they're making a lot of content, you know, they're getting people from their content that are interested, that want to buy their stuff, you know, buy their coaching program. And you just, as a sales rep for them, you just talk to those people. So you call people that have shown interest, that want to buy, you get their phone number, their name, their email, you just contact those people and just give them a quick call over the phone. Talk to them for a couple of minutes, see if it's actually a good fit, and if so, you book them in for on the calendar for either for yourself or for another closer in the business. And then you can be either the appointment setter, who's just like calling people and booking people in, or you can be the closer, who's actually taking the calls for the business owner. You just talk to people for between like 30 to 45 minutes. Talk to them, walk them through the program, answer any like questions, any objections, take the payment, and close the deal. And then you usually get paid around 10% for doing so of the program price. Programs are usually between $3,000 up to $10,000. So you can see how the math plays out. You work a couple hours per day, take a couple of calls, talk with people that already want to buy, already are interested. Talk to these guys, close the deal, or just book the appointment for the closer. And then you get paid for doing so. This is how you're able to make anywhere from, when I've been in the space now and doing high-tech sales myself, been able to make anywhere from $400 per day up to my best days making between like $3,000 to $4,000 in commissions from doing this. So it's very, very simple, you know, and if you want to get into this and you want to learn the skill, you can either go out on your own and DM people on like Instagram, school, different platforms, and try to land a role that way. Or if you want to speed up your journey and get access to the best roles, the best opportunities are usually behind closed doors in like high-level networks and by getting access to people who's been in this industry for a long time. And that's why I do inside of my inner circle, which is my one-on-one coaching, where I help guys, number one, to actually learn the skills. I work with guys personally and train them up to get them really, really good at sales, and then help them get into good sales roles from my own network, and also showing you how to land good roles on your own as well. But primarily it's connecting you with offers that I've gotten access to throughout my multiple years of being in this industry. So if you would want my help with this, to be able to get trained up, get into a good position, you can always apply for coaching by booking a call with me. Download this video, we can hop on, see if you're a good fit for it. I'm very selective with who I work because I work very like hands-on with all the guys that I train. So if you're interested, you can hop on a call, we can see if you're a good fit for that. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'm happy to give you some more like clarity or just answer some questions in the DMs over there. Hopefully it's valuable for you. Focus on learning a skill and actually getting good at something instead of just trying to make money by starting an agency. I promise you that's going to benefit you. Learn sales is going to set you up for life. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao.